Hey everyone, hope you're all doing well. We're gonna start the webinar here in about 2 minutes, just waiting for everyone to roll in. This will also be live streamed in various places, and this will be recorded as well. As you have questions as I go through this, please, there's a Q&A, or just put it in the chat and Aditya will notice and, we'll take questions as they come. So let's give it maybe 1 to 2 more minutes and then we'll start.
Awesome. Yeah. Welcome everybody to the first session of the Build with DOTA series. I'll be the voice in behind the curtain today. Some of you may have seen me at in-person events or hosting our networking chats. My name is Adam Shaw. I run Grid Innovation Hub and I'm the CMO here at Integ and DOTA. We are doing this series over the next few months to show how AI can actually be implemented and operationalized within kind of complex and maybe like legacy energy use cases. So today, the main topic is around plant reliability and performance. That is a part of the energy ecosystem that is kind of plagued with Excel sheets, handwritten notes, and highly manual touch points throughout processes. Amit and Rashed have both been spending decades automating these processes, and they're going to show you how they're actually using AI on a day-to-day basis to do this safely in a way that can actually be deployed within a security conscious utility team. But I'll let Amit take it from here. We can get started.
Yeah, so guys, I'm gonna talk more about the process of building. We have a great solution that really simplifies all of this called DOTA. I'm going to use the solution. I'm not going to go into it. What I will do is point out if you're using ChatGPT or Claude where you're going to have kind of some shortcomings. But our goal is to allow utility analysts and regular non-technical folks to be able to create a lot of these solutions very easily and quickly. Um, what I want to point out though is that you need a very specific way of thinking and understanding these things. And if you have that type of way of thinking, building with AI becomes so much easier. So I'm going to talk as much about the approach as much, rather than prompting. I think the prompting we can figure out afterwards, but I want to want to show you how to take a problem and break it down in a proper way so you can design things. So, all right, let's start. Really we're building, but what I want you to do is think about, what we're going to talk about specifically today is analytics and forecasting solutions. And why we're doing this with AI, you can kind of build anything, right? And if you think about anything, it becomes too big of a problem. So really also for safety and security, uh, IT isn't going to want to have you build systems that are writing back into your databases all day, and because that's a scary thing. So the simplest thing we can start with and what you're going to use every day, right? What do you do in your Excel sheets? Often you are getting data from somewhere. You are crunching numbers, calculating things, and you're going to have visuals or reports that are created, or you may be changing this field, that field, seeing what data comes out, or you may be forecasting, right? That's at least half of the work that, most folks are doing daily, right? At least knowledge workers. So, we're going to talk about analytics and forecasting and how you get data from, a database, file, PDF, or all of those. How do you analyze, model, forecast, summarize, produce different outputs, reports, files, dashboards, and you can store this data. The only thing that we're saying is you're not storing this back to your existing database tables because then it can mess up, right? So you can store it and have its own table and you can use it, but you're not going to touch existing data sources. That's all. Rasha, do you want to add anything before we move forward on this?
No, I think that's a good point, right? I think the whole idea is we have an LLM and we want to solve complex problems analyze. Basically, we're going to analyze whether you're modeling, analytics, that's what we are doing. We are not creating, as you mentioned, operational systems here. And as an analyst, they are doing analysis almost every other day, right? Or every day, that's your job. But we'll show you how DOTA makes it so simple.
All right, so here's what we want to do. Let's talk about the solution that we have, right? So we used AI, and specifically we used our tool called DOTA to build a full GADS benchmarking solution. What this does is you can put in the dates, you can put in your unit, and it tells you exactly how your unit compared, right? Now, you can change this and you can have it so that it does all of your units rather than picking one unit or be able to pick multiple units. That's not the point here. We just want to show you, how to get to a specific solution, and then you can modify it, right? And this is the output. Now, you can change the output format, all of that. We're not really worried about that. The whole goal is that how do you do this, right? And how do you get from having or getting data from NERC for benchmarking and then having your own data, and then how do you compare it, right? We're going to walk through that entire process. So what I always say with this is that when you're doing this, right, I'm going to go into the solution a little bit later. What I want to walk you through is that how do you think about this, right? Excuse me. Step one, are you creating something that's just going to be used once, or are you going to use it multiple times? If you're going to use it once and move on, how you really design it doesn't matter. You get from your problem statement and the inputs to your outputs. And if you don't do it in a structured way so you can reproduce it, it doesn't matter, right? Because you're just doing it once. You make sure it was fine for your purpose and you're done. If you're going to do this again, so benchmarking, right? If you build this thing, you're not going to benchmark once. You're going to continuously benchmark. So if you notice right away, I could pick dates and I could pick units. So this is not hard coded, right? This likely is going against my actual data sets. So that means I have database connectivity. This is a full app, right? Now, this may seem intimidating. How am I going to build this full app, right? A lot of you may be used to, hey, I'm going to throw files into ChatGPT and tell it to do X, Y, and Z and let it do it. But then when you need to connect your actual data sources, becomes a lot more complicated. It seems complicated, but it really is not. We'll kind of show you there's tools like DOTA that really simplify this for you. And, I have tons of analysts now doing this for various solutions, not just this. So this is the first fork in the road. Is it one use or multi-use? And if you're going to have it multi-use, then you have to think about this. Are is this going to run on a schedule or on demand? What else do I need? Does anybody need to check it? And most importantly, this needs to be right every time. So if it's multi-use, I'm going to get into this later. The way Integ works, right, with our DOTA is that you chat with the system. Once you're happy with the final answer and you create a dashboard or output or whatever, this becomes software. This is reproducible every time. Because the problem with LLMs is that if I do this today and I do the same thing tomorrow, it's going to give me different answers. Well, if I do this today and I verify that all the answers are correct and I get it to do what it wants, the way we work is that I can come in here and say, hey, I could save it as a dashboard, right? Or I could save it as a chat flow, which is like code. So once that's done, then it is reproducible. I can keep running it anytime I want. The way these dashboards are run, I can run it anytime and it's software. There's no AI here. And it also saves you money because each time you're doing this costs you tokens, right? You want to do it once, get it right, and then create this. And then if you have changes later, like you do with software, you can go back to this thing and change it as well. So, Rashed, let me know if there's any other points I'm missing here.
No, this is a great point, right? I think the whole idea is when people ask us, hey, I have Claude, I have ChatGPT, I have Claude skills. You can do that, but every time you're running, right, your Claude skills, that's actually running inside Claude. So it's a tokens, right? Tokens and then imagine that you give Claude skills to all 400 employees in organizations. It's a tremendous amount of cost. Here, what we can do is that with DOTA, you build it, you create the dashboards, and you can give to those 400 users, and there's no cost, right? There's no AI cost. It's just like they're running any kind of applications. And that's the beauty of it. And today we're going to show that how quickly we were able to create a benchmarking solution. Maybe it took us maybe 2 3 hours just to build it and then have everybody in the organization use it depending what units they want to choose. And that's a difference between using any of the frontier models like OpenAI, Claude, or Gemini versus how our and how we can use DOTA as a tool.
Great. And keep in mind, behind the scenes, DOTA is using these LLMs. It's just simplifying all of these tasks so that a regular user can do it, and you can go ahead and create these solutions that are repeatable and can be used, consistently over time to do whatever you want
One
to
thing,
do.
Amit, I want to also bring it. So when we build this tool, we build an engineering solution. So that means what you don't want is your corporate data to go to some LLM, or you don't want to be tied to one LLM, or you don't want to be tied to their solutions. It's an engineering solutions where you can use any models you want and you're using to build it. Once it's built, you don't need any LLMs at all. It's yours. So that's the concept we are going to, that you have full control of everything rather than giving the control to some AI models, then you are completely tied with it. And that's not our approach. And we'll show you exactly how we are solving those kind of problems today.
Correct. And as we do this, we'll point out that this is fully secure. There's data governance. There's no training on your data. No data is shared. So all the security and everything is taken care of. With the limited time, I don't have time to get into all of that, but this is going to be 100% IT approved, and this is going to be the way they're going to want you to build especially when you're building these types of solutions. And the beauty of this is that once I build this, this is like Power BI or anything else. You can give access to anybody you want within your org, and they can just come to the dashboard and they can do these things. Or if you want, this crunches the data and then you can visualize it in Excel, get it in Excel and do whatever you want with it. You could put it in your Power BI if you want. The AI is doing all the hard work. It created the outputs. How you want to visualize it, that's going to be up to you, right? So we'll talk about all of that later, but just as you do this, think very openly, because what you create, if you just create something for yourself, it's good. It adds a little bit of productivity. If you do something that the entire org can use, then it adds a ton of productivity. So our whole goal is not just to use, single-use tools. Our whole goal is that how do you create at the team level, how can analysts create tools and solutions that the team or the department or possibly the entire org can use? That's really the goal. So, all right. Now, the reason that we want to do this, okay, why is Integ saying you take your chat, once you're happy with it, you turn it into software? And by the way, in our solution, you're only pressing a button to turn it into software. You're not writing code. Everything's done behind the scenes. Why are we saying that? Because if I ask the LLM the same thing today and tomorrow, it could still be fairly right, but it's going to change, and it's going to change formats, and it's going to change all of this. And we can't have this, right? If you're going to have this report, right? Let's say you have this benchmarking report. Well, if I run it today and if tomorrow this looks totally different, the numbers can be different, but if the formats and everything looks different, humans can't deal with it, right? We need stability. We need something to look the same today to tomorrow. Even if these numbers are generally similar and they're not wrong, if the output keeps changing, the look and feel, that's not going to work either, right? So you want standardized outputs for users, and LLMs cannot be trusted. So if you do your work, you want to make sure that you're creating software at the end. We're not talking about when you have AI agents, what happens is that it gets the data and it's using AI every single time. We do not want that. There are very few cases you are going to need it. There's all this talk of agentic AI and this and that. You are not going to need most of this for almost, most of your purposes, especially as an analyst. And where you have it, you have to be very careful. So the paradigm here is you talk to the chat. In our case, it's a DOTA, and you're going to ask, once you're happy with it, you're going to look at it, test it, and then you can operationalize it. You press a button, operationalize, and then it can be used on your data, and it can get data live from all of the different sources, or it can get it in the morning, however you want it, but it will be like software that's repeatable. Rashed, anything you want to add here?
No, this is good. I think we can go to our solution, how we build it. I think there's a different webinar of all the DOTA features, but you're correct that you have a problem statement and you want to solve the problem. And depending, it could be very complex problems, problems which can connect to weather data, pi data, anything, or a problem statement could be very just input your Excel documents in. But the bottom line is you are creating a solution, right? I mean, yes, you can
Yeah.
use ad hoc basis just like you can do in GPT in any other LLM models, but here is how do you create a solution? I think, and that's in today's webinar, and that's the goal for DOTA is.
So my problem really is that, okay, I want to do benchmarking, right? I want to benchmark NERC versus my own data. So what are my inputs here, right? For me, I have a bunch of metrics that NERC has. Then I want to compare those metrics. Well, actually, I want to do calculations on those metrics because those are the raw data. So I have to get all the data from NERC, which is raw data. I have to create calculations, and then I have to give it my own either already calculated calculations, or I can give it the data and have it calculate, and then I can have it compare and see, right? So how do I do this? The method, this is what Rashid and I are going to go to. And the output, we don't really care as much about the output, and I mean more the formatting. If you know that, hey, I want metric one, let's say EAF, what is my value? What is the NERC value? And maybe I have a delta. That's it. That's all I care about, right? How it gets formatted, you can do it 100 different ways, but if I can get the core output, then I can format it in different ways because, these things are amazing at formatting and everything. Or I could just output it into Excel and then I can format it myself, right? So again, each solution is going to have the same 4 parts. So let's, for this one, let's look at it. All of our data is on, and I apologize, I keep going back and forth. I don't have a simpler way to do this. All of our data is in this NERC site, okay? So if I go to this site now, right, there's 3 types of files: brochure 1, brochure 2, brochure 3, and brochure 4. We went in and we looked at all of these, right? So if you are going to just tell it, well, go get all these files, it's not good because garbage in is garbage out. These are very complicated files, right? And they all have different sets of data. So you have to go in and understand these things. If you just throw a blanket statement in, then you may get lucky, but most likely you're going to get garbage, right? So part of this is to say that you want to have a subject matter expert that knows this, right? If you're doing this with generalists, I can guarantee you 9 times out of 10 you will fail, right? But if you have, this is why we've built this for analysts, because if you know your industry knowledge, then you don't need IT anymore, right? Before you had to have somebody that knows what they're doing. They're going to write down the requirements. The IT person is going to read them and say, hey, is this what I understood? And there's always a gap in between, right? You build the software and then you see what those gaps are. And that's usually bugs or that's found. And then over time you fix it. So this is something that probably would have taken a month of work to do. This was done within, I don't know, I think maybe over 6, 7 hours. The person did it over 3 days because they had other work to do, right? But you can do this in a day. What takes 30 would have taken 30 days to do. And this is a super, super useful tool that actually any electric generator in the country can use, right? Um, so number one, we have these files, right? We want to uh, figure out which files we want to use. Next, we also found when we did this, right, that we actually looked at the files. They were not consistent. So what we want to do is we want to get the data into a consistent format, right? So if it's consistent, then all of these years, when I'm
Yeah, I mean,
looking
you
and
can bring up a 2014 file, like they can scroll down and bring a 2014, go down.
sure.
2014, let's say, or 2013, doesn't matter. 2014, brochure one, or brochure two, sorry, yeah, 2014. Or 2016, yes, if you scroll down, you'll see 2014. Yeah, 2015 doesn't really matter. Yeah, let's look 2015, right? So as you can see, right, there is this file structure where NERC has for 2015 is so different compared to the one we had for 2024. So our goal is to consolidate all these files into one format for all the years. And that's the first task is to ask our AI, go and get these files all these years and consolidate it into one one file structures. And that's the first thing, I mean, you can show that what we did, right? So
Yeah. So we're gonna go in here and we did this in a couple of steps. So let me just go in and I put these as steps. Just so this is to show you that you're gonna take a problem and break it down into pieces, right? That's the only way to do it, right? That's how you approach anything. If I'm going to build a house, then I'm going to build the foundation and then I'm going to start framing and then I do the walls and the roof, right? So here, what we started doing is we prompted it to say, hey, go get the files. And then it got the files and, it ask questions to say, hey, I don't see all of the files because it only got, 1 year. And then we said, oh, well, this is how you get every year. This is where the year 2015 file is. And then it figured out how to get most of the files, right? And then we said, hey, why don't you format everything into a very specific format that we like and makes sense? And then it ended up doing that and it created files in a format that actually was very, consistent and made sense. It looked nothing like the files that it had created because those files, if I look at those Excel files that were there, it had too much information and it got the information that I needed to solve the problem. So we don't have any other garbage or data that it can mess with. So limit what you give the LLM also, because if you add in additional data you're not going to use, it could possibly do something with it. And then it just has more testing and those types of things. So step one is that we use the LLM to ask it to go grab all of the files. And we could have downloaded these and fed them. But since we're going to do this consistently, we could just tell it, and we're going to go back and redo this all together so that it's one piece and it works well. But initially, still, we wanted to have it so that it automatically got the files and processed everything and put it in a consistent way. And the final thing I'll say is make sure you test and make sure you're happy with it. Because if you're going to move on and this is not right, then it's going to be a problem. Rashed, anything else you want to add?
No, no. So that's a step one, right? So if we look at the prompts, we're telling it, here's the links, go and grab the files. This is the file structures. These are files names
Yeah.
are done like this. It tries it and then it builds it for me, a consolidated file. That's the first thing. And the reason we need a consolidated file is because we will need it is the second part of the problem, which is, so I have all these data and Amit can
Yeah.
show you what's the next second part is that how do I get metrics out of NERC? Because NERC is giving raw data. How do I calculate metrics so that I can eventually benchmark against my metrics?
Yeah.
And
And
I think Amit's the
yeah, and I
second concept is,
apologize. We don't, with the time limit, we can't go through all the prompting, but if you're interested, we'll be happy to give you more details. But here, I want to focus more on the approach than the prompt so that you all understand it, because every client I work with, I think this has been the problem is how to approach it first. You know, you could always learn the prompts, but if you learn the prompts and you don't learn the approach, then you're only going to be able to build very basic things, right? It's very easy to say, hey, improve this email format, but you'll see that building a solution like this involves multiple steps, and you have to put the steps in your head in some way that you want, and then you can tell the thing what you want, right? So if you break it up. All right, so step one, get the files, put it into a specific format, standardized format that we want because those files look so different. And obviously, we verify that it looks good. Part of the verification when we did this is that it was missing years, it was doing this, it wasn't doing that. And this is that, like, we didn't see 2014 to 18, and it said, wait, I did this, I did that. So that's all part of the prompting and reprompting. Okay. So don't assume that it's going to do anything correct, right? You have to verify the results. It does generally a great job, but it is going to miss things, and that's okay. It will recorrect itself. It's pretty damn good at it. So, or darn good at it. So, all right. So once you have this format, right? What I showed you in the output is that we had all of these metrics and we had the NERC value and our unit value. So we don't even have our unit data yet. We only have NERC data. But the NERC data we have is the raw format. I don't have these formulas like AF or EAF, right? So part of what I have to do is I have to give it knowledge. I have to tell it how to calculate those metrics. Now, you can just say, hey, this is what these are the values and go calculate them, EAF and availability factor. If you're in the enterprise, I don't trust that it will have the knowledge. Or even if it does, I would rather it tell me what the formulas are and I give it so that if anybody comes in, they know what these formulas are, right? So for me to be able to calculate just the NERC values, forget the unit because I don't have the unit data yet. I am going to say, okay, to go from this to this, it's going to take this divided by this times 100, and AH is already here, okay? PH is somewhere here as well. So it's taking values that are already there and it's going to calculate this, all right? So for this one, now I am going to go to this benchmarking. So what I did is I fed it the file. So it created the file in step one. I fed it the file. Okay. And then I said that go ahead and create, can you calculate the rates and factors in the knowledge document? Okay. So the knowledge document, this is the document that we created. Now, this has a bunch of extra things that we put in there, and we wanted it to be very specific. and we actually put a bunch of these things to say, this is what you should do. This is how you should do it. Now you're going to say, well, the LLM has all the knowledge. It may or it may not. You don't want to take a chance because you don't know how it's doing something, right? So this is your domain. If you know the formulas, you know how you want to do it, it is better to tell the LLM how to do it, right? It's safer. And then you already have documented how you're going to do this. So if there's a problem, and you can go back and look at the formula, or you can change the formula, right? So this is so much easier to test. And this has all of your formulas. And a lot of this we just copied from NERC and pasted it, right? So, but what I want to show you is that the subject matter expert, the analyst, you guys are the most important things in this formula. Without you, this doesn't work. Without you, the solutions that are created are going to be crappy solutions often because you're just hoping and praying it's right, right? That's not a strategy. So, and I want to point this out when we do this, there's a lot of fear. So I have probably 15 clients now starting to use this. And the first time we go into an org, the analyst is afraid that we're going to replace them. And the main thing we're saying is that the stuff doesn't work without you guys. You guys are actually, when you have the specialist and they know what they're doing and they know how they want to do it, that is actually how you're building these solutions. So, Rashed, do you want to add anything else to that? So here what we did is we went
So
in.
I think Amit, what you should do is show the prompts. I think in this prompting, we brought in the Excel data sheet, which was consolidated sheet, and we gave the knowledge to LLM. And over here, we are saying that, hey, I would like you to come up with average statistical values because I would like to compare my unit against your last 5 years. And I could change it. I could do 5 years, 10 years, 3 years. But as you can see that I gave a prompt and it said, okay, I have the 10 years of historical master data sets from NERC, which I did it. And then also you are giving me a knowledge. And as you can see the prompt, right? It's working. It's doing
Yeah,
it.
the
You saw
blue
the
is the
prompt.
prompt,
Yeah,
guys, just so
do
it's
as a
clear.
prompt, right? We gave the prompt, and Amit will show as we're going down, it's solving, trying to understand the knowledge, working with you, and at and the end, what we really want is I would like to see all these metrics calculated by my category so that I could compare this thing against my unit data. So the second step is to create my KPI data from the NERC raw data. So what are we doing here? So now we have introduced the concept of knowledge because LLM may not know the exact way to do that. So you're giving the knowledge and you're giving the data set which in step one was created. Now the LLM has created an output, which is the 5-year statistical average of those metrics using the NERC data. So that's the second step.
And by the way, because we did the knowledge well, if you notice, it did this in one shot.
Yeah.
And it was correct. It did a great job with it.
Yeah.
So this is actually fairly complicated. It's not simple. So it took all of it and it did it in one shot, right? So that's the beauty of this. It did a great job on this. And like I said, the coding wise, this would have taken a month to do. And this was done in, 6, 7, 8 hours, including verification. Now, this is done with somebody that understands this stuff. But the premise is whatever you're doing, it's going to be somebody that's knows what they're doing and understands the work, right? So again, step two is we're getting the NERC calculation. Now, step three is that we want the unit data, right? So when we start for the unit data, we're probably going to want to start with the same raw data that we had for NERC. So here Rashed went in and if I look at the third one, sorry, I renamed these. So if I look at the third one, then right, he went in and said, get the data. Now, the way this works, if I do within our tool, right, I can go ahead and this can connect live to your data sets. So I can go ahead and if I had, event data or if I had anything else, I can go in and I can preview it and I can bring it in. And when I do this, then each time I use it in the future, I can have it so that it's connected to values, parameters. It's gonna then just put those values and parameters in and just bring in whatever data sets that I want. So this is the beauty of a tool like DOTA because now I can seamlessly connect and get files from the web in a safe way, and I can seamlessly read-only connect to all of my data, and then I can put it all together and build it so that, if I change to Canada or if I change a unit and, if I change this to a different set of values, then I can go ahead. It's going to run and, the software is going to do this live rather than it being hard-coded or whatnot. So just want to
So
show
if you
you.
go back, yeah,
Yeah.
if you go back to the chat, right? So here, again, we are not showing you how to get data from DOTA. That was a different webinar. DOTA can connect to pretty much any systems, Pi, SCADA, your data systems, my
ISO
markets,
data could get
my
your, yeah.
ERCOT, and everything, right? So here we are getting your unit data in. Then if you scroll down, it's kind of showing me this is your unit level data, right? You have your year and month and all those things. Then I'm saying, hey, by the way, I know you're giving me the data. There is a grand total, which is basically which gives the metric data from internal data set because your internal data set may not give you exactly what you're looking for, right? It gives you some data, and maybe there's certain things you want, and you prompt it. I'm saying that, hey, I get this data out of this unit level data. I am also have given you the NERC data, the NERC statistic data, which I calculated earlier. And then I would like you to do a benchmarking analysis, correct? And this is
Yeah,
because
so
we
sorry, by the way, when I did this, I put this in and if I could have, when I did the benchmarking, I could have saved all of that to ask it to save it to a table and I could have just referenced the table here. Or here, we didn't really do that because we weren't thinking that far, right? So I just went in and I said, hey, I want this master, whatever, right? So this was the final file that was created in step 2, and I added it so that it knows to compare the data set. And these two aren't necessarily the exact same format, but there's enough that I gave it so that it can understand it. Right, Rasha?
Yeah. So as you can see here, now I created those NERC metrics. I got my data. I wanted to do a benchmark analysis. So it's writing the code to scroll down. It's trying to give me a lot of answers, right? It's telling me, okay, you have these units, you solve these units. Let me go ahead and create it. And then it's doing it's doing analysis, prompting me what it's trying to do, telling me, oh, by the way, in your data, you have this grand total. You want to get this. So you know exactly what it's doing, right? It's kind of telling you everything what it's trying to do. End of the day, it's creating your tables, it's creating some charts and things. But what I really want is a dashboard which is repeatable. Now, in this chat this morning, I wanted a dashboard which looks a little different, but what Amit was showing you. But if you look at this particular dashboard, I wanted to create a different look and feel. And if you click on the preview, Amit, on this particular chat, the dashboard looks a little different, but I want it this way. I wanted a different way of looking at those metrics. And if you click different units, the metrics will change. If here I'm looking on London 1, if you go to Oslo, the metrics are going to change. So as you can see, if I like this dashboard, I will make this dashboard as my producible dashboard. Everybody can use it. Or I can change it and I can say that, hey, by the way, I would like you to create different dashboards. I'm giving you the design. The bottom line is you could pretty much chat with it, bring the data in, and create an operational dashboard where this becomes your output. So that's how we are kind of building these kind of dashboards here. So that's Amit is going to show you some artifacts there. Like he can choose, as you're building the dashboards, you can choose the output of those analysis and the output of the HTML file and from the chat. And then that becomes your operational dashboard, which there's where there is no AI behind the scenes. So that's kind of how we are planning or we are building our DOTA solutions. So
yeah. So again, that's why I was saying the output isn't as important, because once I know and it looks good, then I can just add this, and it's just going to be as easy as clicking and picking which things you want on the dashboard. And then your users, when they come in, they'll just have access to the whatever the dashboard list is, and they can go in and they can pick these different whatever these different dashboards are that they have access to. And the NERC could be one of those. NERC benchmarking is going to be one of those things. And when some things they're going to have to come in and pick the dates, and other things they don't have to pick the dates. It'll, like this one that we created, it just does the last 5 years, and then you just pick the units and it'll have all the units, right? So it all depends how you want the output. But if you get the process right, then the output doesn't matter. You could, like I just showed you how to change two different outputs, right? It's very easy. But what this tool does is it takes you from your problem and your chat to your output to software with just the button, the way you saw, just with creating the dashboard. And then you can expose this and let all your users just come to the dashboard. They don't see chats or anything. And that's all. And you can email these things out, or you can have them as PDF, you can have them as Excel. And in the background, you could also have all the inputs, outputs, and everything put into Excel in case anybody ever wants to look at, the inputs, the middle calculations, and the outputs. So you never have to worry about testing again. You can just have it create a full Excel as part of the dashboard if you want it as well. So
I think the bottom line is you have a tool, can connect to any of the web data sources, can connect, can analyze anything, write the code, can create any type of dashboards and operation of those things. So here, I mean, this is just one example that we are doing some wind forecasting using the tool. We are doing complex unit dispatch using the tool. It's just three concepts.
yeah, we're using it to find problems where the ISO settlement doesn't, one shows something and it doesn't make sense, and it can look at all your internal data, ISO data, and kind of point out where the problems are. So yeah, really the whole goal is to empower the analysts. I feel like most of them have ChatGPT and they have Claude, but they're not sure exactly what to do. And what our tool is trying to do is to allow the analysts to be able to easily connect to all of their data sources safely, securely, and be able to build these solutions and build reproducible solutions. And if they're reproducible, then they can use them themselves, or they can also, allow other folks in their group or in different groups to use them as well, all safely and securely.
I mean, I think one last thing is that folks in the group, if you guys ever want to know how to even build from scratch, right? I mean, you have it has all the tools, right? If you're saying, hey, I want to connect to my markets, let's say if you're in KAISO or PGM, I want to bring this data in, I want to build this solutions, you can, right? This has all the connectors. And we are showing you today's call is that how we were building it. Yeah, I mean, in a live session days, I would have got the first step, would have taken a couple of hours to verify all the files are correct. Second step, making sure my knowledge calculations, verify everything is good. Third steps, I would have just taken a few hours just to see how my dashboard looks like. I have a client who has like 400 units and they want to do the benchmarking in a different way. They want to select the units, they want to select a group of units, they want to select the fleet of the units. And they built that whole thing, but their dashboard looks way different than what we're showing you. But the underlying process was the same, right? The knowledge, the getting the NERC data, bringing their own data in, and everything can be done in DOTA.
Yeah, so the whole goal is you have one request today, tomorrow it's going to be a different request. It's the same framework, right? The tool is you have your problems, your inputs, the method, and the outputs, but it's take going from problem to output. The final output is going to be repeatable. What you have to do is supply the problem. It will get all the inputs and the data. So you don't have to worry about connecting or doing all of that. You just have to kind of point it. And you may have to give it knowledge to say what to do where there's calculations. But it will write all the code. It'll do all the outputs like we showed you, right? So if you can understand this, then every team that you have in the utility can go ahead and build these solutions, right? And these types of tools are going to create much better output than your ChatGPT and your Claude because analysts aren't going to be able to use these things, right? And you can't have IT building stuff for all your issues. It's too expensive. So this is a great middle ground where business users can build impactful, meaningful solutions for data analysis, data modeling, data forecasting, benchmarking, right? Any of those types of things. They can build them super easy, super quick, and and they can use them going forward. So let me know of any questions, and then I can I'll show you a simpler use case here that I always show to if this was too complicated on how to use this. All right, so let me go through. I'm just going to close all of these and create a new chat. So part of what I want to do is let's just say I want to do some, with the event data, let's say I want to do some analysis and this is going directly to my database. Your IT would have set this up. So I can go ahead, I can see the data. This is my outage events. And what I want to do is cause code analysis, right? But what I see is these cause codes, it's just numbers. So there's another place where if I look at cause code, right, I have this description. Um, sorry, my internet is going out real quick. Let me put this in. So I'm going to add this cause code description and I'm not even going to add knowledge and yeah, and I'm going to give it some instructions and tell it what I want, right? So we're gonna have this build. Rashed, you can, if you have anything you want to add while this is building, but also as you guys, if you have any questions, let us know. And you can put that in the comments if you have any use cases. The other thing is if you have use cases, we have this. This is available to you all. We can get you access and we can actually show you your actual use case, how to build it, because the first one or two times you may not know and you're not purchasing anything. This is just going to be available where this is all for you to learn. We don't care if you purchase. We don't initially, we want you to just learn. And in fact, all of our clients that purchased, they actually used the system for a couple of months, got comfortable with it. And then everybody wanted to purchase because they understood how good it is. But you can also use this to understand how to build, more complex tools easily and quickly. So yeah, it went ahead and it actually created this thing for us. And if I like it, I can do this or I can reprompt it and I can say, just say add in more visualizations, or whatever. I don't know. Depends. We're going to be more specific. What I'm doing is not great because it's not specific. But if I like this and I wanted to create a dashboard from it, again, it's as easy as going in and picking this, right? And I can have it do multiple visualizations and pick it. And then if I do this, then, I have a working dashboard in whatever. It took what, 3 minutes, 4 minutes? So that's a simpler case
I
where
mean,
I
I
have
think you
all
can
the
also change the dashboard, Amit. You can do the edit mode, show them that if you want to change the
yeah.
dashboard.
So you can go ahead and, there's
No, no, not
different.
here. I mean, you can just choose any of the boxes there that,
Yeah. So you can go ahead and pick the look and feel and change it and, layouts and styles and all of these. So you have a lot of control on how to change this. You can also go into here and, edit these types of things within here as well. So let's say, you know, I didn't want this to be this color, then I can go back to, you know, change the background color to something different. I just changed it to white or whatever I want to change it to. I can change it to red, etc. So however you want to do this, you can go ahead and, change some of these colors, or you could just reset them. So you have a lot of control. Most people don't go and change most of this once it's done. You can always prompt the LLM to change it, but if you want to change it, you have full control as well. And you can even go ahead and, change this to say available capacity, instead of impact, right? So you can go ahead and change the headings and those types of things as well. So you have a lot of control once it's created as well. But just to show you that you can go from your data to a live solution. And if I create the solution, I can have, selectors for unit and year and all of that as well. And each time I run it, it's going live to the data set on my database and getting it. So I've essentially created software that does all of this. And also once you create this, you can get the data set, underlying data set into Excel if you want. You can also have it create an Excel output as well, as part of the prompting. And you can also have your business BI tools connect to it, right? So Power BI or Cognos or anything can connect to it and get all of the data, because you use the AI to do the crunching, but then you can visualize it in your own solution if you don't want these. So for me, this is much better because it's just, it's very easy and I can control it, versus in Power BI, it's still going to take your IT folks another week. But if you need it, you can go ahead and do it that way. So all right, so I'm going to stop here. Let me know if there's any other questions. And if not, then we'll go ahead and end it. And want to thank everybody for joining.
Amazing. Thanks, everybody. I know some of you all picked that you wanted to get a personal demo. There's a button below in the resources section, and you'll also get a link to schedule that in a follow-up email here that sends out in about 6 minutes. Thank you so much, and please definitely join us for the next one, and join us for some upcoming virtual and in-person networking events that we have hosted coming up, I think, next week. Thanks, everybody.
All right, great. Yeah, and again, if you want to see, there's no obligation. You don't have to buy or anything. Like I said, almost everybody that's purchased have tried it for months. We want you to just understand how this works. You don't have to buy this tool, but this will actually help you understand how to create more complex solutions using AI. And it's really unlocked the analysts we've worked with. So, um, you know, every single one of them have loved it. So, would encourage everybody to try this out and just message us. We'll walk you through it. You do nothing, but you're just going to take an hour of your time, but you're going to learn a ton, and we can actually solve one of your actual demos. So, all right. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.